Hello, welcome to the install video for installing ExtendMySeat into a 2011 Matrix. So, as already seen, here is what comes in the box that you receive from ExtendMySeat. Let's see how we're going to install this into my 2011 Matrix. Here's the tools you will need. A flashlight, especially for a darker interior car, as well as a 14mm socket and a 14mm wrench. To begin with, slide the front seat all the way to the back, which will reveal two bolts. From here, grab your 14mm socket, loosen both bolts, then proceed to loosen by hand and remove. At this point, slide the seat all the way forward. With your seat all the way forward, proceed to the back of your car and remove the bolt caps by twisting from the right to the left on both sides. Set these aside. At this point, grab your 14mm socket and loosen the bolts on both sides and remove by hand. Once these two bolts have been removed, proceed to the front of the car and slide your seat all the way back. As you will see, your seat is loose now. It will actually tilt back and rest on your back seat. At this point, grab your two L-shaped brackets. The short one here will be placed on the driver's door side, and it will line up with the bolt hole that you previously unbolted your seat from. Continue to the bracket closer to the passenger side, and it will fit over top of that same hole. With your brackets now in place, grab the two bolts that you extracted from your seat, the front, and line up and hand tighten into the front of each of these brackets. At this point, with your brackets finger tight in place, carefully tilt your seat forward, squeeze the lever and pull your seat all the way forward. So with your seat all the way forward, proceed to push your seat just by hand and slide it forward to reveal your two holes that you will be attaching your two brackets to. So, driver's side on the outside, you grab this bracket right here, looks like that. You set it in place. To the inside, you grab this bracket, lay it on the floor like that. Now grab your two bolts that you have from taking out of your existing seat and hand tighten these bolts into place. With all four brackets hand tight using factory bolts into factory holes, use your 14mm socket and tighten all four bolts down until they're snug. At this point, with all factory bolts tightened with your 14mm socket, bring your seat back into position and carefully move your seat back approximately 3 inches to its new seating location. Now with your seat in its new position, with your seat anchor points lined up with the new bolt holes on our ExtendMySeat brackets, take the bolts applied in your package and line up and finger tighten these into position on each side, being careful not to cross thread these bolts. Once these two bolts have been started, Proceed by pulling the seat all the way forward and going to the back seat again. At this point, grab your nut and finger tighten onto your new bracket, and grab your bolt and line it up with your bracket on the outside. Again, finger tighten these, start them, get them in snug, line them up, make sure not to cross thread the bolt. Now that all 7 bolts and 1 nut have been hand tightened or snug tight, grab your 14mm socket, go around and tighten up all the bolts. At this point, I have tightened all 3 bolts and 1 nut on the back part of the seat. Here it may be easier to use your open-end wrench and to get at some of the bolts, seeing that they are a little tricky to get in with your socket depending on the length of it. As well, at this point, grab your plastic clips. You can grab them and just slide them back on both sides. With both clips installed, grab your tools, your flashlight. Proceed back to the front of your car. Again, put your seat all the way back and grab your 14mm socket and tighten the last 4 remaining bolts. With all 4 brackets now installed, here's the best part: enjoying your 6 inches of extra legroom. Thanks to ExtendMySeat.com.